The Azad Hind Fauj was formed under Mohan Singh in 1942 during the Second World War by the Indian nationalists and the Japanese imperialists for the purpose of breaking free from the British Raj. It had disintegrated later due to the conflicts between its members but was revived under the guidance of Subhash Chandra Bose. His appeal reinvigorated the INA, which had previously consisted mainly of prisoners of war. It also attracted Indian expatriates in South Asia. He famously proclaimed that, "Give me blood, I will give you freedom." Local civilians joined the INA, doubling its strength. They included barristers, traders, and even plantation workers. A training school for INA officers and the Azad School for the civilian volunteers was also set up to provide training to the recruits. A youth wing of INA composed of 45 young Indians, personally chosen by Bose and known as the Tokyo Boys, was also sent to the Japan's Imperial Military Academy, where its members were trained as fighter pilots. A separate all-female unit was also created under Lakshmi Sehgal. This unit was intended to have combat commitments. Named Jhansi Ki Rani Regiment, it drew female civilian volunteers from Malaya and Burma. The 1st Indian Division was lightly armed. Each battalion was composed of 5 companies of infantry. Senior officers of the Bahadur groups attached to each unit issued hand grenades of the captured British stock to men on duty. Newspaper reports around November 1945 reported executions of INA troops, which worsened the already volatile situation. Increasingly violent confrontations broke out between the police and the protesters at the mass rallies being held all over India, culminating in public riotings in support of the INA men. This public outcry defied traditional communal barriers of the subcontinent, representing a departure from the divisions between Hindus and Muslims. On the recommendation of Lord Mountbatten and with the agreement of Jawaharlal Nehru, former soldiers of the Indian National Army were not allowed to join the new Indian Armed Forces as a condition for independence. At the end of the war in 1945, the Indian Army's officer corps included Indian Medical Service Officer Hiraji Krasetji as its sole Indian Major General, 1 IMS Brigadier, 3 Indian Brigadiers in combatant arms, and 220 other Indian officers in the temporary or acting rank of Colonel and Lieutenant Colonel. Indianization of the armed forces continued to progress, though by June 1947, 2 months before the independence, the Indian Army had only 14 Indian officers at the rank of brigadier serving in combatant arms, with no Indian flag, general or air officers in the combat arms of the armed services. As of today, Army Day is celebrated on January 15 every year in India, as it is on this historic day that General K.M. Cariappa became the first Indian to take charge of the Indian Army in 1949 from General Sir Francis Robert Roy Butcher, who was the last English commander of our nation's army. It was with the wars that the army slowly expanded, honed its skills, improved its conduct, and became what we call today the Indian Army.
Following the end of British rule, British India was partitioned into India and Pakistan. The provincial division was based on Hindu and Muslim majorities, which caused mass migration for those that did not live in the majorities. The Jammu and Kashmir regions have been disputed since partition, with Pakistan and India both claiming ownership. Kashmir was strategically located between India and Pakistan and though it was led by a Hindu Maharaja, Muslims made up majority of the population. In spite of this, the majority did not wish to join Pakistan and instead wished to join India or obtain independence from the two states. Hostilities began in early October 1947 when a Pakistani Pashtun tribal rebellion broke out in Poonch in southwest Kashmir. By October 20th, the Pakistani army entered the conflict in support of their tribal forces in a multi-pronged effort designed to capture Uri, Jhangar, Rajwara, and Naushera in the opening days of the campaign. Pakistan's motive was to capture the capital of Kashmir, Srinagar, within a week. The Maharaja, facing near certain defeat, asked India for military support. India agreed to help provided that Kashmir acceded to India. Both the Maharaja and the Prime Minister agreed to these terms, and on October 26th, the Maharaja signed the instrument of accession to India. Despite early successes, the Indian army suffered a setback in December 1947 because many of the Indian soldiers were ill prepared to fight in the mountainous region of Kashmir and Jammu. These setbacks were significant as the Pakistani-backed forces were able to capitalize on these problems and to push back Indian forces from the border area. The intensity of the conflict and the inability to foresee a quick end to the conflict without involving considerable resources on the part of India led Indian leaders to approach the United Nations, who ultimately introduced observers in June 1948. A UN brokered ceasefire went into effect on Jan 1st, 1949. The result of the war was inconclusive. However, most neutral assessments agree that India was the victor of the war, as it was able to successfully defend about two-thirds of the Kashmir, including Kashmir Valley, Jammu, and Ladakh. The Sino-Indian War occurred on October 20th, 1962. This war was the result of an unexpected strategical move of China. China's perception of India as a threat to its rule of Tibet became one of the most prominent reasons for the Sino-Indian War. When India recognized the very existence of People's Republic of China, the former Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru presumed that India and China would coexist and start a new Asian era. What Indians were not aware of was China's motive, which sought to determine that only one of the two countries should exist as an Asian power. In 1954, China and India concluded the 5 principles of peaceful coexistence, under which India acknowledged Chinese rule in Tibet. It was at this time that Nehru promoted the slogan, Hindi Chini Bhai Bhai. When China occupied Tibet, India sent a letter of protest proposing negotiations on the border issues as it got even more concerned about its relations with China. In 1954, when Aksai Chin was illegally occupied, India embarked on a new policy to prevent Chinese aggression called the Forward Policy, which was a failure. The Chinese were not happy as India was ready to negotiate the border issues with China. So, they launched massive attacks at the border. On July 10, 1962, around 350 Chinese troops surrounded an Indian post at Trishul and used loudspeakers to convince the Gurkhas that they should not be fighting for India. In October 1959, India realized that it was not ready for war after a clash between the two armies and Konga Pass, in which 9 Indian policemen were killed. So, the country assumed responsibility for the border and pulled back patrols from disputed areas. When Chinese achieved their objective, the army announced a dramatic ceasefire, sealing their victory.
The war started when Pakistan launched airstrikes on 11 Indian air bases. It was perhaps the first time in which India's all 3 forces fought in unison. India swiftly responded to Pakistan's army movements in the west and captured around 15,010 kilometers of Pakistan territory. The war ended after the chief of the Pakistani forces, General Amir Abdullah Khan Niazi, with 93,000 troops, surrendered to the joint forces of Indian Army and Bangladesh's Mukti Bahini. General A.A.K. Niazi signed the instrument of surrender on 16 December 1971 in Dhaka, marking the formation of East Pakistan as the new nation of Bangladesh. The war lasted for just 13 days and is one of the shortest wars in the history. December 16 is a significant day for India and its neighbors Bangladesh and Pakistan. In 1971, India won the war against Pakistan that resulted in the birth of Bangladesh. On this day, 47 years ago, Pakistan lost half of its country, its forces in the east, and had to publicly surrender to India. It was also the largest military surrender after World War II. The military confrontation between India and Pakistan occurred from 3rd December 1971 to the fall of Dhaka on 16 December 1971. The Indian Army brought Pakistan Army to its knees, took 93,000 Pakistan prisoners, and gave 75 million people of Bangladesh their independence. Over 3,800 soldiers of India and Pakistan lost their lives in this war. To end the genocide Pakistan had been conducting against the Bengali population of East Pakistan. The conflict was a result of the Bangladesh Liberation War, which Bangladesh was fighting to seek freedom from West Pakistan. In 1971, Pakistani army began to commit the barbaric genocide on innocent Bengali population, particularly the minority Hindu population in East Pakistan. As Pakistan's atrocities increased, former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi decided to take action against Pakistan, at the time give refuge to civilians from the other side of the border. She ordered Army Chief General Sam Manekshaw to launch offensive against Pakistan, following which India launched a full-scale war against its neighbor. It is estimated that between 3 lakhs and 30 lakh civilians were killed in Bangladesh. Tortures, killings and conflicts followed, due to which 8 to 10 million people fled the country to seek refuge in India. Indira Gandhi was reluctant to launch a full-scale war against Pakistan, as the country was already facing the burden due to the continuous flow of refugees from East Pakistan, and entering a war meant inviting more burdens. She also appealed to the world leaders to intervene and pressurize Pakistan to stop its brutalities, but India did not have much time, and a quick response became necessary. On December 6th, she announced in Parliament that India had accorded recognition to Bangladesh government. On August 2, 1972, India and Pakistan signed the Shimla Agreement, under which the former agreed to release all the 93 Pakistani prisoners of war. Demarcation of territories in the Karachi Agreement of July 1949 did not exactly specify who had the authority over the Siachen Glacier area, causing a lot of uncertainty. To deny the Pakistanis a strategic advantage over a trade route, the Indian military decided to deploy troops from the northern Ladakh region as well as some paramilitary forces to the glacier area. In 1983, Pakistani generals decided to stake their claim through troop deployments to the Siachen Glacier. After analyzing the Indian Army's mountaineering expeditions, they feared that the India might capture key ridges and passes near the glacier, and decided to send their own troops first. Islamabad ordered Arctic weather gears from a London supplier, unaware that the same supplier provided outfits to the Indians. The Indians were informed about this development and initiated their own plan, providing them with a head start. The Indian Army planned an operation to control the glacier by 13 April 1984, as the intelligence had reported that the Pakistani operation planned to occupy the glacier by 17 April. And so, Operation Meghdoot was led by the Lieutenant General Prem Nath Hoon. The task of occupying the Saltoro Ridge was given to 26th Sector, commanded by Brigadier Vijay Khanna, who was tasked with launching the operation. He chose 13 April, supposedly a lucky day, because it was the Vaishakhi day, when the Pakistanis would be least expecting the Indians to launch an operation. The first phase of the operation began in March 1984 with the march on foot to the eastern base of the glacier. A full battalion of the Kumaon Regiment and the units from the Ladakh Scouts marched with the full battle packs through an ice-bound Zojila Pass for days. The units under the command of the then Lieutenant Colonel D.K. Khanna were moved on foot to avoid detection of large troop movements by the Pakistani radars. By 13 April, approximately 300 Indian troops were dug into the critical peaks and passes of the glacier. By the time the Pakistan troops managed to get into the immediate area, they found that the Indian troops had controlled all three major mountain passes of Siala, Bilad Fondla, and by 1987, Gyongla and all the commanding heights of the Saltoro Ridge west of the Siachen Glacier. Handicapped by the altitude and the limited time, Pakistan could only manage to control the Saltoro Ridge's western slope and foothills despite the fact that Pakistan possessed more ground, accessible routes to the area. Unlike Indian Axis, which was largely reliant on airdrops for supplies due to the steeper eastern side of the glacier.
The Kargil War was an armed conflict between India and Pakistan that took place between May and July 1999 in the Kargil district of Kashmir and in regions along the line of control. In India, the conflict is also referred to as Operation Vijay. The Indian Air Force's role in acting jointly with Indian Army ground troops during the war was aimed at flushing out regular and irregular troops of the Pakistani army from vacated Indian positions in the Kargil sector along the line of control. This particular operation was given the code name Operation Safed Sagar. The cause of the war was the infiltration of Pakistani soldiers disguised as Kashmiri militants into positions on the Indian side of the LOC, which serves as the de facto border between the two states. During the initial stages of the war, Pakistan blamed the fighting entirely on independent Kashmiri insurgents, but documents left behind by casualties and later statements by Pakistan's Prime Minister and Chief of Army Staff showed involvement of Pakistani paramilitary forces led by General Ashraf Rashid. The Indian Army, later supported by the Indian Air Force, recaptured a majority of the positions on the Indian side of the LOC. Facing international diplomatic opposition, the Pakistani forces withdrew from the remaining Indian positions along the LOC. The war is the most recent example of high-altitude warfare. Thus, the Indian Army overcame all the hurdles that came its way with flying colors, losing ground of yore. Its evolution, history of wars, and nerve-wracking time on the battlefields leave every spectator intrigued. There is no one better suited than our intrepid Lionhearts to raise the tricolors. Their discipline, loyalty, selfless service, honor, and integrity draw a clear line between the protectors and the protected. The Indian Army played an instrumental role in subduing the Razakars, who wanted to make the Nizam accede Hyderabad to Pakistan. The army also lends a helping hand to allies, as seen in Operation Cactus. The Maldivians, along with armed mercenaries from Sri Lanka, had attempted to overthrow the island republic of the Maldives. This coup failed when the Indian Special Forces eliminated the terrorist leaders. Their acts of perseverance and patriotism do not exist merely at the frontiers but also inside the nation. As part of the Operation Rahat, the Indian Army evacuated many people during the massive flood in Uttarakhand, and it was one of the biggest civilian rescue operations ever carried out in the world. Such is the caliber and transcendence of the Indian Army, for which we shall remain eternally grateful.